Welcome back to the deep dive. We have something on the desk today that is, frankly, unlike anything we have ever tackled before.
That is putting it mildly.
Usually, we're looking at complex geopolitical situations or the latest breakthroughs in biotechnology or maybe a historical retrospective on the Industrial Revolution. We're used to charts, data, peer-reviewed studies.
Right.
But today we have a mystery package.
It really is a mystery. And the provenance of this deep dive is almost as interesting as the content itself. It didn't come from a usual news wire. It didn't come from a publisher's catalog.
And certainly didn't come from a frantic email from a listener. This came directly from the top.
Yep. Straight from the desk of Stan Underwood, the CEO of Deep Dive LLC.
That's right. And I have to say, the memo attached to this source material is, well, it's a cry for help, honestly. Stan sent this over with a subject line that just read, "What is this?" in all caps.
It sets the tone perfectly. Let's maybe unpack the directive before we even touch the material itself. Stan received an audiobook.
An audiobook, yeah. Titled The Geode of Mookopolis.
Which is already a fantastic title.
It is. It sounds like something from a fantasy novel or maybe a very obscure geology textbook from the 1970s. It has a certain crunch to it.
It does. But Stan's memo is where the real confusion lies. He writes, and I'm quoting here, "I'm not sure what to make of this. Is it for real? Is it some sort of academic poetry or lofty philosophy that's just going over my head?"
He goes on, "Is it a profound academic breakthrough? Or is it just AI slop? Is it a prank?"
And that's the question we are here to answer. Stan specifically asked us to figure out if this is a semi-autobiographical quasi-amphigory, a phrase he apparently pulled from the liner notes, and to see if we can find any nuggets of value.
Or at least humor.
Or at least humor, right, in what he calls the absurdity.
And we should probably clarify that word immediately. Amphigory. It's the anchor for everything we're about to discuss.
Absolutely. If you haven't heard it before, don't worry. It's not exactly common parlance. An amphigory is a piece of writing that.
Yeah.
It sounds good. It is the rhythm, the meter, the structure of meaningful speech.
But when you actually look at the content, the actual meaning of the words,
it's largely nonsense. It's a burlesque of language. It sort of tricks your ear into thinking it's hearing something profound.
So our mission is to decode a piece of nonsense. But here's where it gets weird. Stan did his due diligence. He didn't just toss this at us.
No, he checked the source.
He checked the source. This audiobook comes from the Huffersbach Forum Library. And that is a real, verified, trusted institution. This isn't just something he found on a random message board or generated by some glitchy bot.
Exactly. It has an institutional stamp of approval. And Stan also verified the author, a woman named Kelly Kibbles. She is a real person. But the publisher listed on the intro a company called Kitskalalia. Well,
it doesn't seem to exist outside of this text. It's a ghost company for a ghost book.
Which is our first clue, I think.
I think so, too. But before we even get to the text, we have to talk about the septic fuligos. This was the detail in the memo that really made me laugh.
Oh, the septic fuligos. This is where Stan's confusion really started to spiral.
Right. So in the text, and we'll get to this in detail, Kelly Kibbles mentions septic fuligos. Stan, being the diligent CEO he is, looked it up. He thought it might be, some ancient philosophy or a rare mineral.
A lost city, maybe?
Maybe. But what did he find?
Yeah.
It's scientific nomenclature. Specifically, it seems to refer to Fuligo septica, which is colloquially known as mojo de vomito de perro,
which translates to
dog vomit slime mold.
Yep.
It's a yellow, bile-looking mold that grows on rotting wood, and it is also apparently a Mexican delicacy in some regions, believe it or not. Stan even notes in the memo, I don't think Kelly Kibbles was eating it. Perhaps IDK. Ha!
That detail alone, referencing a slime mold known as dog vomit, as if it were some high-minded concept, it tells you everything. We are entering a world where high culture and absolute filth are going to collide. It signals that the author knows exactly what she is doing. She is using Latin to dress up slime. It's a warning shot to the reader. Do not trust the fancy words.
So we were going to dive into the Geode of Mookopolis. We are going to treat this with the respect Stan requested, but we are also going to embrace the madness. We have the full text, we have the author bio, and we have a mandate to find the signal in the noise.
And honestly,
I think
we found quite a bit of signal.
I agree. Let's start with the author herself. Because usually an author bio is just a list of credentials. John Doe teaches history at such and such university. He lives in Connecticut with his wife.
So boring.
Yeah.
But Kelly Kibbles, her bio is a narrative in itself. It frames the entire experience.
It's incredible. Okay, let's break it down. Callie Kibbles is listed as a retired deep-sea salvage coordinator. Okay, impressive. She spent over a decade documenting the structural decay of sunken oil rigs in the North Sea.
And that immediately gives us a sense of her perspective. She deals with massive industrial structures that are falling apart underwater. She's an expert in decay, in rust, in things that are broken and submerged.
Right.
It suggests a fascination with how things fall apart, which is a theme we see in her language. She looks at things that were once functional, like an oil rig or, a sentence, and watches them corrode.
But then it pivots. She's also an accomplished cartographer of abandoned subway systems.
Of course she is.
And get this, she once lived in an underground station specifically to study the acoustic properties of septic fulgos.
There's that slime mold again. But think about the image there. Living underground in an abandoned subway. Listening to mold. First of all, mold doesn't usually make noise.
Unless you listen very closely.
Right. It implies a hyper-specific obsession with sound and environment. It frames the book not as a story, but as a soundscape. If you were listening to mold grow in a subway, your definition of noise versus music is probably very different from the average person's.
That's a good point. It tells us she is attuned to the frequencies that the rest of us just ignore.
And her current status is just as good.
It is. She lives in an isolated cabin in the Pacific Northwest, restoring 19th century telegraph logs.
Telegraph logs, dots and dashes, encoded communication. It fits perfectly with the idea of writing a book that is a code or a puzzle. She spends her days translating clicks into words.
So in this book, she's kind of reversing that process.
It feels like it. It's almost like she's trying to turn words back into clicks and noises. She's stripping language back down to its raw transmission data.
And we can't ignore the pets.
No, we cannot.
She lives with 5 dogs and 37 cats.
37.
37. And the bio explicitly says, in her spare time, she enjoys snorkeling in Lake Polywog with her dogs and cats.
And Stan even verified that image. He saw pictures of it.
No way!
Yes. Just imagine the logistics of snorkeling with 37 cats. Cats hate water. The noise, the scratching, the chaos. It's wet, it's noisy, and I think that chaos is what bleeds into the text.
It's a whole ecosystem. This bio paints a portrait of someone who has completely exited normal society. She is living in her own world of specific noises, specific textures, and utter isolation.
And then there's the kicker.
Oh, yeah. It says, the Geode of Mookopolis is her first book, and she plans to never write another. As she puts it, she has better things not to do.
Better things not to do. I love that phrasing.
We do.
It flips the usual better things to do right on its head. It suggests that doing nothing, or perhaps just snorkeling with cats, is infinitely more valuable than participating in the literary world.
It's a total rejection of productivity. It's a rejection of the hustle.
Exactly. She wrote this one bizarre thing, dropped it on the world, and went back to the woods.
So we have this eccentric, reclusive, slime mold listening, telegraph decoding figure, and she drops this book, The Geode of Mookopolis. Let's open the cover, segment 1 of our analysis, the frontispiece.
The book opens with the title, Part 1, Static Load Bearing. And already we are seeing her background in salvage and engineering.
Static load bearing, yeah.
It's an architectural term. It refers to the parts of a structure that hold the weight of the building itself, not the people inside it. It implies we are looking at the foundation. But the first sentence takes us somewhere else entirely.
In a frontispiece sat a scoundrel, a scalawag lost in ennui. Okay, first off, for those who haven't brushed up on their obscure Greek recently, let's unpack this setting. What is a frontispiece?
A frontispiece is a thinking place. It comes from the Greek frontisterion. It's the term used in Aristophanes' play The Clouds to describe the school of Socrates.
Ah, okay.
It's a place for study, for reflection. It implies high intellectualism, a library, a study, a university. It's a word that demands respect. You don't eat Cheetos in a frontispiece.
So we have a thinking place, a cathedral of the mind. But sitting inside it is a scoundrel and a scalawag, and he's lost in ennui, that heavy, listless boredom.
It feels like a setup for a joke, a punk in a library.
Right away, Kibbles is setting up a contrast. The setting is high-minded, but the occupant is a rascal. And look at what he's doing. He chewed velvet tamarind and volvanga, ignoring the moho de vomito de perro on the floor.
She just drops those words in. Velvet tamarind is a fruit, right?
It is, yeah. Diallium guineense. It has a black velvet shell and orange pulp.
And volvanga is another fruit. Vangeria madagascariensis, also known as the Spanish tamarind. These are real, specific botanical terms. She isn't just making these up. She is flexing her vocabulary.
But then, right on the floor,
Is the dog vomit slime mold.
it's a sensory clash. Exotic fruit and dog vomit, and the language just gets denser. With a scintilla of vertilaga, he felt a tremulous wave of Weltschmerz.
So vertilaga is purslane, a common weed that is also edible, and Weltschmerz, that's a German concept, world weariness or world pain. The feeling that physical reality can never satisfy the demands of the mind.
So this scoundrel is eating weeds and fruit, staring at slime mold, and feeling the pain of the world. And then he speaks. And this is where I think the humor Stan mentioned really kicks in. Because up until now, it sounds like a very pretentious poem.
Read the line. It's marvelous.
Balderdash, he cried, his onomatopoeia loud as a snort, oink, and grunt.
This is a key moment for understanding the book. Onomatopoeia is when a word sounds like the noise it describes, like buzz or hiss.
Right.
But here, the character isn't just speaking. His speech is the animal noise. He says balderdash, a very human, slightly pompous word, but the description isn't he shouted. The description is snort, oink, and grunt.
It's like the text is fighting itself. It wants to be highbrow, but the animal nature keeps breaking through. The text says, this malarkey and hoity-toity shenanigans were a pittance of hijinks.
It's just piling on these old-timey words for nonsense. Malarkey, shenanigans, hijinks. It's a lexicon of silliness.
And then we get the visual. He watched a zakihedron fall in a driblet of parahypnagogia.
A zakihedron is a 100-sided die. It's incredibly specific. It's a golf ball-sized sphere with numbers on it. And parahypnagogia refers to the state just before sleep.
So he's watching a 100-sided die fall through a sleepy dream state.
And then this line. A wisp of allophonic synesthesia made the tetrachromacy shimmer like a smidgen of monicum.
Okay, unpack that, because that sounds like something a sci-fi writer would put in to sound smart, but does it actually mean anything?
This is dense, but yes, it does. Tetrachromacy is the condition of possessing 4 independent channels for color information. Basically seeing colors normal humans can't.
Birds have that, right?
Birds often have this, yes. And synesthesia is when senses cross, like hearing colors or tasting shapes. So allophonic synesthesia implies that different speech sounds are creating visual colors. He is seeing impossible colors caused by the sounds of speech.
That sounds incredible.
It does. But Kibbles undermines it immediately by comparing it to a smidgen of modicum. A modicum is a small quantity. A smidgen is a small quantity. So it shimmers like a small bit of a small bit.
It sounds impressive, but it means almost nothing. It's like a balloon that looks heavy but is full of helium.
Exactly.
And then we get to the Hokey Pokey incident. This was the moment where I realized this wasn't just a difficult novel, it was a cartoon.
It creates a scene of total absurdity. The pusillanimous poltroon felt his monomania rise during a vaxemulgence.
Vaxemulgence.
It implies milking a cow, from the Latin vacca, cow, and mulger, to
Milking cow.
Yes. So this cowardly fool pusillanimous poltroon is obsessed while milking a cow. And what happens?
With a yip, howling meow, and hiss, he performed the Hokey Pokey.
You have this pusillanimous poltroon, very literary, doing the hokey pokey, and the animals join in.
Mew went the cat, arf went the dog, cock-a-doodle-doo, sang the bird.
It's a cacophony. And notice the scholar. There's a second character introduced here, lurking in the background.
Right. Deep within the frontisterian, a scholar studied the frontistery to find a scintilla of truth in a modicum of data. The scholar seems to be trying to make sense of the scoundrel's world. He's the straight man.
Exactly. The scholar analyzes allophonic shifts, which are slight changes in sound, and tries to dismiss the balderdash, but he can't. The text says he falls into monomania of Weltschmerz.
The scholar becomes just as ridiculous as the scoundrel.
He does. He ends up ignoring the woof and arf of the hounds.
It feels like a satire of exactly what we're doing right now. We are the scholars trying to find a scintilla of truth in the balderdash, while Kelly Kibbles is just throwing snort, oink, and grunt at us.
I think you're right. The text portrays a struggle between the hoity-toity, the intellectual pretensions, and the barnyard reality. You can talk about tetrachromacy and ambiguence, but at the end of the day, the donkey goes, hee-ha.
The animal noise always wins. Biology beats philosophy.
And the section ends with that sensory overload. A list of bird sounds. Tweet, chirp, gobble, and coo until a final squeak of ambiloquence ended the day.
Ambiloquence, that's ambiguous speech.
A squeak that means two things, or nothing at all. It's the perfect ending to the first segment. The high language collapses into a squeak.
So let's move to the next layer of this geode. We've talked about the sounds, but we have to talk about the taste. Because this book is obsessed with food.
And not normal food, it is obsessed with muck.
Yeah, this is where the texture of the writing becomes really visceral. We are introduced to a traveler now, practicing obsequious experientia in mentum substantia.
Which sounds like Latin for sucking up to the experience in the substance of the mind.
Roughly, yes. It's faux philosophical jargon. It sounds important, like something you'd read in a bad dissertation.
But look at what this high-minded traveler eats. He's dipping his bread in remoulade. Okay, fine. Remoulade is a mayonnaise-based sauce. But then he eats chevril.
And fish eyes and endive. That is a specific and horrifying salad.
It is, and it continues. Century egg, which is a preserved egg, often with a creamy, pungent texture.
Fish milk.
Which is fish sperm sacs. Monkfish liver. Sanakshi, which is live octopus tentacles that are still ribbling.
Chitlins, fried forest rats, mice kebabs.
Mice kebabs is the one that really sticks out.
Why is there so much gross food? It's not just mentioned, it's consumed with gusto. The characters are feasting on this stuff.
I think it connects back to the theme of muck. The book is incredibly tactile. It's sticky. It's organic. It reminds the reader that no matter how many big words you use, like obnubile aggregationalisms,
Which is a great word.
you are still a biological organism that eats fried forest rats. It grounds the nonsense in the body. You can feel the grease and the grit. It forces you to grimace.
Speaking of grit, let's talk about that word kitscholalia. Stan mentioned the publisher was named Kitscholalia, but the word appears in the text, too.
It does. A bout of kitscholalia where talking became a cumulus of noise.
And this might be the thesis statement of the entire book.
I think it is. We know kitsch. It's art that is considered to be in poor taste because of excessive garishness or sentimentality, tacky art.
Garden gnomes, velvet paintings, porcelain figurines of shepherdesses.
Exactly. And lalia is a Greek suffix referring to speech or chatter. Echolalia is repeating words. Glossolia is speaking in tongues.
So kitscholalia is kitsch speech.
Tacky, excessive, garish speech. Speech that is ornamented to the point of uselessness.
That is brilliant. The book isn't just nonsense, it's a celebration of tacky speech. It's words used for decoration, not function, like a velvet painting of a sentence.
Exactly. It's Baroque for the sake of being Baroque.
Yeah.
The words are chosen because they are shiny and weird, like holkium or meconium, not because they convey information. They are verbal bling.
You mentioned holkium. That appears in a very strange moment. The text says, trapped within a metal air Percepticon, he realized irrefragably that his sardonic smile was reflected in a shard of holkium.
The metal layer Percepticon. That sounds like a device for perceiving the layers of reality. And irrefragably means indisputably. But he sees his reflection in holkium. That's not a real element. It sounds like a comic book substance.
It breaks the fourth wall of its own absurdity. The character seems to realize he is trapped in a construct. He's in a metal air. It's almost like he knows he's in a book written by a woman who snorkels with cats.
And notice the recurring theme of dirt. Meconium, muctality, muccessory, muckfogation.
Everything is covered in muck. Even the soul is described as needing to be interlarded against the conslough. A slough is a swamp.
It's a dirty, messy, noisy world. And the characters are just trying to survive the muctastasis.
Muctastasis, like a metastasis of muck. The dirt is spreading, the nonsense is spreading.
Which brings us to the second part of the book, the meridian of secondary concerns.
Right. And if the first part was static load-bearing, holding up the weight, this part feels like the structure is collapsing.
The narrative just fragments here.
Yeah.
We get a man in a surcoat who drops a muffin near chime bars.
Chime bars, again, the sound.
The instrument references go off the charts in this section. We have a melodica, a keytar, a membranophone, a psalmodicon, a bandoneon, a rebec, shamisen, an ocarina, a zurna.
Wow, a zurna is a wind instrument, right? Loud and high-pitched.
Very loud. It's a double reed woodwind used in central Eurasia. It has this piercing, buzzing sound. And a keytar that's pure 1980s kitsch. A keyboard held like a guitar.
And a psalmodicon.
That's a single-stringed bowed instrument used for church music in Scandinavia because it was cheaper than an organ.
So she is mixing an 80s synth-pop instrument with a Scandinavian church instrument and a Turkish folk instrument.
It's a symphony of totally incompatible sounds. And remember Kibbles' bio. She is a member of the International Society of Conjectural Acoustics. She is constructing a soundscape that can't exist in reality.
Right.
You can't play a keytar and a psalmodicon and a zurna together and have it sound good. It would be dissonant. It would be kitscholalia. It would be audio vomit.
Amidst all this noise, we get a weird little story about a kalat.
Kalat is an old derogatory term for a scolding woman or a drab, and she is dreaming in a trophic cycle of beetroot worms.
Beetroot worms, again with the specific biology.
Mm-hmm.
And she faces the Council of the Brain Salad.
That phrase, Council of the Brain Salad, feels like a nod to progressive rock. Emerson, Lake and Palmer had an album called Brain Salad Surgery, but here they are judging the muctastasis of her soul.
And the language they use. Res judicata, nolo contendere, writ of saturari, lispendens, ex parte.
These are real legal terms.
They are, but look at how they're applied. They are applied to eating frogs or escaping a spandrel.
A spandrel is an architectural feature, right? The space between the curve of an arch and the ceiling.
Exactly. You can't escape a spandrel in a legal sense. Kibbles is taking the rigid, formal language of the law, which is supposed to be precise and binding, and applying it to the surreal nightmare of beetroot worms and brain salads.
It's bureaucratic absurdity. It feels like trying to file your taxes while falling down a rabbit hole.
It highlights how silly that language actually sounds when you take away the context of the courtroom. Writ of certiorari sounds just as weird as muctastasis if you say it enough times.
And that leads us to the final and perhaps most challenging section of the book. Part 3, Atmospheric Protocols.
This is where the wheels completely come off. The text shifts. It moves from these scenes of eating rats and playing keytars to a scurry of movement.
The traveler encounters a snollygoster.
A snollygoster.
It's a 19th century term for a shrewd, unprincipled person, often a politician, and he's on a stanhope, which is a light, open, horse-drawn carriage.
But then he enters a state of zen muckery. I love that term, zen muckery, finding peace in the filth. And that's when the alliterative breakdown happens, the Stella section.
This is a fascinating phenomenon in the text. The narrative just dissolves into a list. It's no longer sentences, it's just words starting with SP, and it goes on for pages in the audiobook.
Let's look at the pattern because it's not just random. Spitter, spalt, spiculum, spiculate, spicant, spica.
Spiculum is a small, needle-like structure. Stolkant refers to a type of fern. Spica is a star. She's connecting biology, astronomy, and geometry just by the sound of the first two letters.
It's an associative chain.
Goes on. Speleology, specter, spectrum, specular.
Sphere, spheroid, spherolite.
Spin, spindle, spinifex, spiral.
Squawk, squash, squash, squick, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. It's hypnotic. Reading it on the page is one thing, but hearing it, which we will soon, is another. It creates a rhythm. SP, 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 SP. It's percussive.
It is. This is a literary demonstration of a psychological concept called semantic satiation.
Semantic satiation? What is that?
It's what happens when you say a word over and over again until it loses its meaning and becomes just a sound. If you say spoon 100 times, it stops being a utensil and just becomes a weird noise made by your mouth.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Kibbles forces the reader to undergo this. By listing sphere, spheroid, spherolite, spherolytic, she strips the meaning away. The narrator isn't just describing things anymore, he becomes the word.
The text actually says that. He was a squalidness. He was a stalactite.
He merges with the language. He ceases to be a character and becomes a foam, a unit of sound.
And just when you think you can't take any more speech, she shifts to
Stabber, staccato, stack, staddle, stadium, stag.
starch, stare, state, statue, staunch, stake, steam, steed.
Stereo, sterile, stew, stick, stiff, stifle, stigma. It's relentless. It's like a machine gun of vocabulary.
It aligns perfectly with that definition of amphigory. It's a rigorous adherence to structure, in this case the alliterative list, at the expense of narrative coherence.
It's order imposing itself on chaos, but the order itself is chaotic. It's overwhelming.
And it builds and builds until the very end. The sublist.
Swability, subalpine, subarctic, subconscious.
And then the terminus. The narrator finds themselves at the end of the sublist, and we get this final realization. He was no longer a scurry of motion, but a steady force in a vast world of words.
That is a surprisingly profound ending for a book about dog vomit and keytars.
It is. It suggests that after all the noise, all the muck, all the kitscholalia, the protagonist has found stability by becoming part of the world of words.
He has accepted his nature as a textual being. He exists only in the words. He is home.
So, bringing it all back to Stan's question, what is this?
Yeah.
Is it a prank?
You know, Stan theorized that Kelly Kibbles would appreciate us laughing at it. And I think he's right. But I don't think it's just a prank. A prank is usually disposable. You laugh and it's over.
Right. This took work, the research alone. You have to know what Voavanga and septic fuligos and a salmoticon are to write this. You can't just mash a keyboard.
Exactly. It's a monument to specific knowledge. I think the title, The Geode of Mookopolis, gives us the answer.
Yeah, so?
Think about a geode. On the outside, it's a rock. It's rough, ugly, maybe a bit dirty, muck.
Okay.
But if you crack it open, inside there is a crystalline structure.
I see where you're going with this. The muck and the nonsense are the rough exterior.
Yes. The confusing narrative, the gross food, the slime mold, that's the rock. But inside, if you look at the S-lists, the rhythm of the hokey pokey section, the precise definitions of the botanical terms, there's a crystal clear structure of sound.
It's a book meant to be heard, not just understood.
It forces you to pay attention to the mouthfeel of language. You have to chew on obnubilaggregationalisms, just like the character chews on fried forest rats.
It's a sensory experience. In a world of information overload, which Stan alluded to, where we are constantly bombarded with content, Kelly Kibbles invites us to stop trying to make sense of everything.
She invites us to just drown in the verbal muck and enjoy the swim.
Just like snorkeling with cats. It doesn't make sense, but it's probably an unforgettable experience.
Precisely. It's a vacation from meaning. A trip to Mookopolis.
Well, Stan, I hope that answers your question. It's a masterpiece of semi-autobiographical quasi-amfigury. It's real, it's absurd, and it's surprisingly sticky.
It certainly stuck with me. I'll never look at a keytar or a bowl of endive the same way again.